while since you've had one of those nightmares.
When I spoke with you last, we talked about a skill. Is there a skill you'd love to learn before part 2? And you said French. So you could get in on the conversation.
Unfortunately,
Did you learn any? Okay.
nothing.
You wanted to
Useless.
learn Spanish.
I know, yeah. Well, because I was on the press tour.
Oh.
And when you're in Paris, and Denny
yeah,
and
yeah.
Timothy are
No,
talking, and I'm
yeah.
just sitting there like,
No. That would be a good one to know.
yeah, it would be
It
very
really would
helpful
be.
for this specific
And also,
group of
There's
people.
a lot of places that speak. I mean, it'd be great. It's quite a.
I just want to speak any other language.
I know. We need to do that.
It got me thinking, obviously, you're showing Timothy's character the way. You're
Mm-hmm.
teaching him the way of your world. What would you teach each other? What would Florence teach Zendaya, if you could, something kind of special to you, that you'd be good at teaching her?
Oh my God, I feel like Zendaya can do everything though. You're like a multi-skilled woman. What would I love to teach you?
I think that, if I may,
What?
have said to her, I was like, I would love a little cooking lesson.
Oh, I can I can do that.
Because I need more
I can do that.
skill in that
I would love to
arena.
teach you how to cook.
Yeah.
Where did you learn?
I learned from my dad and my gran, and I should say my mum because she'll be very sad that I did.
Not really, Mom. Sorry.
No, totally. My mum's a fantastic cook, but my dad's that kind of person that can open a fridge and
Make
if there's
anything.
nothing in there,
Right.
he can make something. And I feel like I've kind of got that from him. So my cooking isn't. I'm actually really shit at following recipes. I get bored. I'm like, well, I don't have that, so I may as well use this instead.
Right.
And then I'm surprised that it
Creative.
doesn't taste like the thing that
Yeah.
it's supposed to taste like. But I like just. I'll give you some of that.
Yeah. That's what I need. Because I was like, all I can do is just like, give me a recipe and I'll just try my best to follow it. But I need a
bit
little
of the
bit
spice
of that.
passion.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of that.
What do you want to teach me?
Yeah, what would you teach Florence?
I don't know. Like, what can I feel like the same. I was like, you can do anything. So,
I'd like to do a dance class with you. And you can teach
Okay.
me how to dance.
Love.
I want to know how to do the sound walk.
Love
I
it.
want to know how to
done.
speak French from you.
Can you imagine? I'm like, bonjour, oui, oui.
Can I ask you about the sandwalk? Do you kind of make that up as you go, or is there actually a sandwalk you follow?
There is a sandwalk.
It
that has
doesn't
been
look like she makes
choreographed.
it up as she goes.
It's beautiful. You're
Yeah.
kind of letting the earth guide you. So I thought,
Yeah.
maybe they're just
That's a wonderful way of putting it. That is so true.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
I'm using that.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to lead with that.
Yeah, no, it was choreographed. What was fun about it is you can play with like rhythm and how you interpret the sandwalk. So while there are steps, it's like you can decide to do something slow or fast or, kind of break up the syncopation a little bit. So everyone has their own way of doing it.
On the last one, I asked Denis, out of all the cast members on part 1, who asked him the most questions, who peppered him the most. He said by far you and Oscar. So I was curious, where do you fall in with part 2? How many questions were you peppering Denis with when you got the script?
Good question. I feel that I asked a lot of questions in the beginning. Just because there were so many different directions that we could go with Fate, and we were trying to do something that was original. I like to ask a lot of questions. Yeah.
So much of you, it's not just the look. To me, it's the eyes. It's the and for you also, you're covered a lot. It's the eyes. This might be a dumb question, but when it's the eyes, is that something that you guys can practice in front of a mirror when a lot of it is eyes related? Or do you just, is that a dumb question?
No.
Be honest.
No, it's not.
For the first time when I was doing Elvis, I started really working with animals, looking at the way that an alligator uses their eyes or whatever that was. And so on this, I ended up kind of coming at it with that mentality. And so it wasn't so much as like looking in a mirror, but it was more the feeling of how a panther uses their eyes, or in certain moments, when you see a great white shark, that sort of energy, So for me, it was pulling some of those primal things and just getting the feeling, and it kind of sparks your imagination, I think.
So if this is a shark and a panther, who's your spirit animal with how you use your eyes?
Great question. I don't know if I have an answer off the bat. I don't want to give you anything that I wouldn't agree with later. But, it's a great question, and I've worked with Polly a little bit too now, and I love hearing about Austin's process on this, and yeah, it was very much the visual of a shark or a snake sometimes, as you were saying
yeah,
before, with
snake.
the blackened out teeth. Yeah.
And Harkins Theaters, we have a soft spot for you because for Only the Brave, you came to Harkins Theaters.
I remember
and
it
did,
very well. I remember it very well.
Congratulations on
Thank you.
this. I love the whole concept of fear as the mind killer, and it passes over me and through me. I get the sense that as you've gotten older, more mature, you've lived life, you've seen a lot of
More
things.
mature, but yes.
You are, though.
Continue.
Do you have any fears currently? Or are you pretty good about letting them pass over you and through you?
You know, it's a good question because there came a moment where I had less fear and I didn't like it. I like my fear.
Because it keeps you on your...
It does. It keeps you motivated. And, you know, even like choices that I would make professionally, I'd go like, oh, that's an easy route, but what's the one that scares me? Where's the one that scares me? Where's the new filmmaker? Where's the filmmaker I feel like I have to live up to, like Denis? As good of a time as we have and as fun and as great friends as we are, when we're on the set, there's a standard. You know, and you go, okay, if I start fucking around too much, then suddenly he's like, what are you doing? Why? Why? You know?
Right.
And you go, okay, oh, that's right. We're doing a thing, and it's a job, and we have to, you know, we have to do it this well in order for him to be satisfied. And I like that feeling.
Yeah.
I like that feeling. So I like the fear in my life. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's good fear.
I do, you know, and again, I don't want to give too much away, but the scene in the first, the gum jabbar with the hand and the pain and all,
Yeah.
where you have to control your body. I follow you on Instagram, as you
Yes,
know.
you do.
I feel like the modern day equivalent to that is the cold plunge.
Okay.
Is that a way of you learning to breathe through it and control your body where you're not immediately jumping? I lasted 30 seconds and I see you last minutes.
But it's, first of all, it's a trend right now, which I guess is great because it's good for people and all that. I've been doing it for 20 years. I've been doing it for a really long time, back when you just had ice and like a horse trough, and that's what we would do. But there is, like I did it this morning, and I was like, what? I don't want to do it. Like, I'm tired, I'm up too early, the kids didn't sleep properly last night. The last thing I want to do is go down and hop in really 36, 37 degree water for 4 to 5 minutes. I don't want to do it, but I did it anyway. So the more I don't want to do it, maybe it's an age thing, I don't know. The more I don't want to do it, the more I end up doing.
You need the
You know what I mean?
challenge.
I do. I like doing those things that that aren't comfortable. Comfort scares me.
Everyone talks about just seeing you and Javier together and just the reverence that they hold for you. Is there a younger actor that you feel that kind of reverence toward, that these younger actors see?
I can feel them in there.
Okay.
Austin, for sure.
Yeah.
Austin,
Unbelievable.
I got a thing for Austin that's just like, I saw how hard he worked, and everything that his face, that his visage suggests, doesn't suggest that. And I like that. I like that contrast. He's not just kind of saying, well, this is who I am and this is what I'll do, and I know I'm going to get a certain amount of roles because I'm a good-looking guy, I'm young, and this and that. He works harder than, as hard as I've seen anybody work.
Congratulations on this. I feel like he just needs a hug. I feel like a hug. I feel like a hug could really help soften
We
him.
all need a hug.
Don't we?
Yeah.
You know what, though? He's angry. It's not one of those angers that boils slowly. He's already angry.
Yeah.
How do you get there quickly? Because he's there every time.
That, you know, what's funny is came so natural to me. So if there's anything that I took away from professional wrestling, it's being angry. Like I'm really good at being angry. Yeah.
Do you have any tricks, though? Do you do anything in particular, or like you said, it's just natural?
I do this thing called acting.
Like no heavy metal in the background, like push-ups, nothing
No,
like
it's
that.
weird. It's just
It's
I
cool
think so. This is not. No, it's not. This is this thing. It's anxiety. So when I started wrestling, I was literally physically sick before I walked out the curtain, and I used to walk out of the curtain and go, "Rah!" and all my anxiety was gone. And that's what it is. Is I get nervous and I get self-conscious and I get anxious, and as soon as I go, "Rah!" it goes away. And so that's what it is. It's easy for me to do that, and it's easy for me to I can relax from there. As soon as I scream and belt that out, I can relax from there.
All right, I want to try that then. If I
Yeah.
ever feel anxious, just start screaming, going nuts. But you've also said that Denis brings the best out in you.
No, he does. Yeah.
What do you think he does that's different maybe from some other directors that brings the best out in you?
It just, I don't know, we have deeper conversations about characters, about and what he sees, what his vision is. He said the best thing to me on this film and because the character was much different from the first film.
Yeah.
And so on the first film, when I showed up and I asked him, what do you think? Who's this guy and who's the character? And he told me, and I said the same thing when I saw him the first day on the second part of Dune. I said, so what do you think? I mean, he's much different. Who do you think he is in this film? And he said, let me dream about it tonight, and I'll tell you tomorrow. And I was like, wow.
That's all you needed to hear.
Yeah, and I was like a little kid when he said that. I was like,
Well, what did he say the next day?
He said, Rabban is a coward. He said, Rabban is a coward, and he masked it by rage. And he said, so whenever he said, just keep that in the back of your mind. He said, and we talked, we had more conversation, a long conversation from there, but he said, inherently, Rabban is a coward, and he covers it up by rage.
There was no time to recover from part one, which at the time was the biggest movie I had made in my life, and I was not filled with energy. Coming into part two, it was pure adrenaline, and that my team and I realized that part two was a much bigger beast, and I'm fully responsible because I had written it.
This may be a silly question, but sometimes I get stuck on something, and obviously in the sand. I'm looking around for footprints in the sand that shouldn't be there. Is there somebody whose task is just to make sure that the only prints you see in the sand are what makes sense to the film?
Madame, it is not a silly question because
promise?
yeah, when I went back to the desert, I said, oh no, we have to do that again. It means that you have to protect all areas to make sure that people will not step. You have to. It's like the sets are, and each take you have to move, or having people that sweep the desert, which is the most poetic and crazy thing I've seen in my life. When you leave the set in the evening and seeing dozens of guys going to sweep the desert to make sure that the next day the wind will do its job, but it required a lot of discipline from all my crew, and it's really annoying. Yeah, really annoying.
The sandworm, you're in the theater, you're vibrating, the whole experience is so immersive with the sandworms. We see how someone gets on a worm. How does someone get off?
Actually, I know how, but there was no time to show it in part two. And if ever there's such a thing as Dune Messiah, then I will be able to show you how you get out. But I have a strategy. It will be beautiful. I was very excited by my idea, but I didn't have the time to express it in part two.
Well, I can't wait, because at one point Timothy is going, I'm thinking, how is he gonna, he's gone. Like, when is he gonna get off and come back? I know that you are a very emotional person. It is an emotional film on many levels. Was there a moment during production on part two that you just were overcome with emotion? A scene, the way it, came about, something?
I will say that on a daily basis, what kept me alive and gave me fuel was my actors. They were very generous for me, for the camera, and they kept me going by how they surprised me or gave me. So there are many moments. I cannot pinpoint one moment, but there's many moments where I was like deeply moved by them.
You are not prepared for what is to come.